Welcome to Workplace Psychology with Dr. Martha Grajdek. I'm Dr. Martha Grajdek. This podcast examines a wide variety of work-related issues through the lens of industrial and organizational psychology. And while many of the topics discussed here may be seen as intended for white-collar employees and their employers, in reality, the ideas presented here are applicable across organizations and industries. Additionally, many of the topics discussed here may be applicable outside of the workplace. I encourage you to examine what's presented here, apply what makes sense to you, and simply discard the rest.
You may have heard how important an organization's culture is, but have you ever heard of a coaching culture within a company? This is actually a real thing. Companies have gone to some lengths to create and maintain a culture that embraces coaching, a coaching mindset, and coaching practices in order to benefit everyone within the organization and, by default, the organization itself. There are many benefits to a coaching culture, one of them being the improved interactions between employees, between colleagues, between management and employees, and even between employees and customers or clients or vendors. A coaching culture is focused on success, on learning and growing and overcoming obstacles. It's not difficult to understand how a coaching culture can benefit both the workforce and the organization itself. In a coaching culture, people are able to both give and receive constructive feedback. Similarly, they're able to both support and push each other, stretch each other to reach further. Think about what a coach would do. It's about supporting someone as they move forward on their journey of growth, learning, and success. As is the case with culture in general, it starts at the top. So this is something that absolutely has to have the buy-in of an organization's leadership. And while initially coaching culture may mostly focus on the interactions between management and non-management employees, once fully developed and really truly embraced, a coaching culture also includes a coaching mindset and practices between colleagues, so it's no longer limited solely to manager-employee relationships. That's how we know that a coaching culture is truly at its best in terms of benefiting everyone involved. Since an organization's culture starts at the top, it's important to train leaders and managers in the concept of coaching culture. It's important for them to start practicing, embracing the coaching mindset, embracing and practicing coaching on a regular basis. But beyond developing those relationships between managers and non-management employees, management and leadership has the opportunity to implement and experience that coaching practices and the coaching mindset amongst each other as colleagues as well. There are many moving parts to this, which only gives us more opportunities of success. When a coaching culture is embraced by managers, by leaders, and is implemented in the daily workplace experience, it can also serve as behavior that can be modeled by employees who can then engage in coaching on a peer-to-peer level. encouraging feedback and growth are key, are an important part of this experience. And of course, this is just as important for professional growth as it is for personal growth. So if your organization is not already embracing and implementing coaching culture, I highly suggest that this is something you explore. I always recommend hiring a consultant such as an IO psychologist or industrial organizational psychologist. They can provide excellent training and lead an organization through the process of developing and maintaining a culture of coaching. As is often the case, when something new is introduced to an organization, it's important to understand its effects, its impact. So this is where measuring the results of implementing this new culture within an organization can be very helpful to understanding how the organization is doing. Obtaining regular feedback can be a great way of learning how you're doing as an organization in terms of embracing this new culture. As this episode comes to an end, let's review what was discussed. The concept of coaching culture within an organization comes with many benefits. Coaching culture is not difficult to understand. It is an organization's culture where coaching concepts and practices are embraced and maintained. And while culture starts at the top, so should training for coaching culture. Once leaders and managers feel comfortable and competent in embracing a coaching mindset and coaching practices, they can feel comfortable in modeling this kind of coaching behavior, this kind of relationship to employees who can then further engage in coaching mindset and practices on a peer-to-peer level. When done correctly, this is something that promotes growth, forward movement, and success. As this week unfolds, I strongly encourage you, especially if you are in a leadership or a management position, to examine the culture within your company and consider implementing or introducing coaching culture. It can come with tremendous benefits to both the organization and individual employees. And if you don't know where to start, I always suggest seeking the help of a consultant. IO psychologists can be a tremendous resource for this type of change. For those of you who experience this podcast in an audio-only version, I encourage you to check out my YouTube channel, Stress Free with Dr. G, where you can find the video version of the podcast. In addition to the podcast, you can also find videos that focus on stress management. So check out Stress Free with Dr. G on YouTube. The link for that is in the description below. Thank you for joining me today. Please subscribe to this podcast. I look forward to seeing you here again next time. Until then, I wish you joy and well-being.